everyone, I'm Allie Duncan.
And I'm Mark Neal.
And we're at the Sanctuary House. And today we're going to be talking about the importance of what just happened in the, what would you call it?
I like to call it election.
Presidential election. I like to use the word arena.
Arena, yes, the political arena, yes.
The political arena. But before we hop into that conversation, explain your shirt. You always have such great shirts.
Okay, I'm going to stand up for this one. Mm-hmm. So, vote like your granddaughter's rights depend on it.
Yes. Say more, sir.
Well, if you think about this coming election, it is quite literally an election between democracy and fascism, authoritarian dictatorship. Yes, it is. I said it.
Yes. Okay. So this is important because when we start to pick sides, like who should I? So I don't like, let's say Biden was still in the race. I don't like Biden. I don't like Trump. Then that was really important what you said, like who to vote for.
Yeah.
Right?
This isn't a popularity contest, people. It's not. All right?
No.
This is not between Taylor Swift and Beyonce, okay? Who are both fabulous, okay? This is an election, whether you want democracy or you want authoritarian fascism, quite simply. Now, you alluded to it when Biden was in the race.
Right.
This just recently, we've learned that Joe Biden is not going to seek re-election, and that's kind of actually adds to our discussion here immensely, and kind of addresses this situation a little more literally and a little more poignantly. So, Joe Biden did say he's not going to seek re-election, and so that opens the door, kind of, to who is going to now be the presidential nominee. The default would be Kamala Harris, who would be a magnificent choice because she's already filled the role of vice president for the past 4 years, so she has an understanding of the job, and to move her into that next spot, depending on who the Democrats would pick as a vice president, could absolutely lock up the Democrats to occupy the White House for the next 16 years at least.
Okay, so if you're saying, like, I don't like her, right? I don't like how she shows up. I mean, she wasn't visible. Whatever the story is, you're not going off of that. You're going off of you're
literally going off of your granddaughter's rights. And if you don't have granddaughters yet,
you may.
Yes.
You may. And so if
we do. So
we have a few. So if you're going with Trump, then that is the 2025 project, right?
Yes.
Project 2025. So basically they want it to be how Russia is structured. Like that's what he's going off of. That's what he wants to structure, right?
It is a mixture of the South, pre-Civil War, Russia, Italy in the 30s to 40s, Russia now.
Right. And that's what people were saying that are Russian were just like, this is how, like the Project 2025 is how Russia got started. Like it's the same mindset, like everything. And so basically we'd have one president forever that he would make all the decisions. What else?
It's a rolling back of your rights, of individual rights. He would be able to adjust, amend, eliminate the Constitution unilaterally on his own. I've read through Project 2025, and to get into specifics with it is unnecessary because it is just a blueprint for fascist authoritarianism.
Right. So if you're saying, I don't like who the Democrats putting up, but that's fine, they're still holding on to our democracy, right? I don't care who's running for president. The Republicans want to do the Project 2025. Like that's what they're going for. And it's been in place. It doesn't mean that it starts in 2025. It's been setting up for the last several years.
They've been moving down that road little bit by little bit by little bit. And for everybody who wants to say you know, they want to do the duck and cover, ostrich head in the sand, and just go, you know, if I just don't pay attention to it, it'll go away. It's not. And if you look at what these religious conservative extremists are doing, is they're not, you know, Project 2025 is an all-encompassing thing nationwide. But what they've been doing for the last several years, as you said, is they've been inserting themselves at the local level.
Right.
And at the school board level. And so you're sitting there looking at, now we're looking at all these book bans, and we're looking at, that's because these people have inserted themselves in the local level, the educational level, for the last couple decades, right? They realize that that's where you impact most, is if you know, and to put it mildly or not, what they're trying to do is they're trying to be the gatekeepers of information. And they're saying that if we can control what children learn, we can control how they are as adults.
Right, right. And so look at the book bannings, how they're starting to shift education. We have women's rights was moved back. We have LGBTQ is moving back. So it's already showing up that this is what they're doing. And it's going to get more intense if we vote for Republicans.
And it's not the Republicans of old. Everybody thinks, oh, they're just the conservatives from the Reagan era, which, you know, if you're a conservative or a liberal, whatever, Ronald Reagan had some crazy ideas, but he also tempered them, understanding that it may not be good for everybody, just for a smaller group, and could temper some of that. Those reins have been taken off, you know, like in hockey, like the gloves are off and we're fighting. And that's the thing, is that now no longer are they looking at it that we're just going to try to do this in the Congress. We're going to try to get these laws passed. They are absolutely trying to impact the day-to-day life of everybody and change the day-to-day life to everybody being the same like them.
Right. Who was it? There was someone that is Republican that wants to take away women's voting rights.
Yeah. Talk about.
It'll come to you.
Yeah, but the whole thing is, and this is my problem. He's, you know, all skin folk are not kinfolk. He's a black Republican, and he made the comment that he believes that women should not have a vote. So in order to have that mindset, you have to want to go back in time. Right?
And look at everything that's going back in time. Like it all is on their side.
There's no progression. We want to move forward. And when we go back to the whole Make America Great Again. All right, so we're going to go back in time to make it great. And that's one of the things that I ask all the time. I go, when was it better for minorities and everybody and other marginalized communities in this country than now?
Right.
When was it better?
Right.
So who are you saying we're going to make America great again for?
Right. Yes. And if Republicans do get elected, then it will be great again for the white males.
Exactly.
Basically.
It'll be great again for white supremacy, and we've talked about that before. What that actually means. It's not, you know, it's white supremacy. White people. Look at Hollywood, and that's what I always love to do. I love to watch movies, and I love to and see. I mean, I don't watch all these movies, but I love to watch movies and take note of the representation of the different ethnic groups, different political groups, ideology, whatever in a movie. And nobody ever has a problem when everybody in the movie's white.
Right.
But suddenly, if you put everybody in the movie black, like I read an article how when Eddie Murphy did Boomerang, and it was all black cast, and they were business executives and wealthy people, and you know, doing their thing. You know, a critic wrote, you know, how come there's no white people in the movie? But when has a critic ever written, how come there's no black people in the movie? How come there's no minorities in the movie? How come there's no marginalized community representation? How come there's no disabled people in this movie?
Right.
Right? How come there's nobody in a wheelchair in this show?
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, it's like, that's what white supremacy is.
Mm-hmm.
It's the thought that in its natural state, the world is white. In its natural state, the corporate boardrooms are white.
Right.
White males.
Mm-hmm.
And anything that doesn't look like that, now we're talking about DEI hire. Look, you're not supposed to be here. You just got here for affirmative action. You know, you got here because they had to have a minority. Or, I got here because I'm smart. I got here because I'm competent, because I'm capable.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. And so all of that is gonna start going back. Like all that's gonna be, well, they're actually now starting to chip away at it. Like no more DEI, no more, like you can't even talk about the past. You can't talk about slavery in some states anymore. Like they're taking away absolutely everything. So the bottom line is we have a big shift that just happened. And so if you want democracy, then it is Democrats, even if you like them or not, it doesn't matter. You're voting for democracy. That's it. You don't want that to go away, because on the other side is fascism, and it's already been lining itself up. We see it, we experience it. A lot of us are just ignoring it, but it's unfolding. Yeah. And if you haven't watched Handmaid's Tale, it's on Hulu. Start the series. There's lots of them. That's the direction that we're going in if we keep on this path.
The thing about it, one of the things as we're looking at these is you have to understand, if you can start to control people's education, if you can start to control their experiences, and you can get rid of any experiences that show your group in a bad light, or in a real light, right? Not even good or bad. It happened.
Right.
Okay. Let's just say it happened, but how can we avoid it happening again? If you can control that and you can start to chip away and get rid of that, and make everything sweetness, goodness, and light, then you, 2 generations from now, education looks completely different. Knowledge looks completely different. Right? You can take people back into the past if you start to chip away at the past, like get rid of the past, because they don't know it's the past.
Right. Yeah.
And so, and one thing that I want people to understand that I just heard about, and I think is fascinating, along the lines of, you know, conservative, liberal, Democrat, Republican, DEI hire, affirmative action, capability, what have you, is back in 2011, Donald Trump donated to Kamala Harris's campaign when she was running for Attorney General of California. And a lot of people say, well, but you have to think about it. That was back before he had decided to run for president for the Republican Party, which if you think back into the 80s, he was asked during an interview if he would ever run for president. And he said, yes, if I run for president, I'll run for president, but I'll run as a Republican because they're stupid.
Yes.
Not my words, his words, okay? And so if you think about this now, fast forward to 2011, he donated to Kamala Harris's campaign for Attorney General in California. Why would he do that? One, because he had no affiliation, Republican or Democrat at that time. He's just about money, right? And he's about who he thinks is going to be better to further his business, his economic interest, wherever, right? He doesn't, like I say, he doesn't see red or blue, you know, the colors of the political spectrum. He sees green, right? And so if he's giving it to Kamala Harris, he thinks she is the most capable, most competent, most able person to occupy that position. He doesn't see her as a DEI hire.
Right.
He doesn't see her as an affirmative action hire because she has to fill a quota. He saw her as the most qualified person.
Right. Yeah.
So
I mean, that's going to be coming up.
It's going to come back.
It is going to come back.
And it should absolutely come back to haunt him.
Right. So basically, it's educating yourself as you look beyond the people. Like, don't get stuck on the people. Like, what are they bringing? Like, what are we going to be missing out on if we go out of popularity contests?
And don't focus on 50 cents a gallon gas. okay? Please don't. Don't focus on the economy was better, because it wasn't. The economy is great now. Think about it. All these people who are going to Donald Trump rallies all over the country are traveling to those rallies. If the economy is so terrible, how are they able to pay for their travel tickets, their lodging, food, their shirts they buy there?
Mm-hmm.
If the economy is so bad, how are they able to travel to all these rallies?
Right.
If the economy is so bad, how come we're talking about record profits for companies?
Mm-hmm.
If the economy is so bad, how is everybody doing all the stuff that they're doing? Vacationing, doing all these things.
And that's the thing too, is to like educate yourself on that. Like, don't just hear something, right? Like, take yourself off of social media. Like, start to do some research with neutral, like, what is some neutral news places that...
Look across the board. And that's the thing is read the stuff from the Western Journal, which is, I gotta believe, is one of the most one-sided news. But read stuff from there.
Right.
See how they phrase things, right? And then pick, Forbes, pick Business Weekly, pick all across the board. The New York Post, which is another bastion for the conservatives. But read it. Read how they phrase things.
Right.
How they phrase comments that Donald Trump has said.
Mm-hmm.
If he says, all these, millions and millions of immigrants are pouring across our border every hour. Is that possible?
No.
One, is that physically possible? No, of course not. So he's lying.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And that goes back to one of the other things that said, we were talking about Project 2025, is that Donald Trump came out a few weeks ago and said, I've never heard of Project 2025. I know nothing about it. I don't, the people, it sounds pretty extreme, but I wish them well.
Mm-hmm.
What? How do you wish this? If you say it sounds too extreme, how do you then wish them well? You wish them well that all their policies get passed and put into place?
Right.
What are you wishing well for?
So this is where, like, read, understand verbiage, and then read something different. So basically, bottom line is just educate yourself. We had a big shift on who's going to be running for president. And educate yourself. And again, what are you voting for? It's not a person. It's the structure. It's the democracy.
And think about this. If Trump is saying, I know nothing about Project 2025, but it's been in the news since at least the beginning of 2024.
Right.
He's either so clueless that he doesn't read any news or information. His people around him are so clueless that they don't give him that information and tell him, hey, this is coming up. And they're attributing it to you. Or he's lying.
Right.
So which do you want? Do you want a president who's clueless or a liar?
Right. And not just that, but we go back to democracy or fascism. Those are the only two things you need to be focusing on. That's it. Democracy or fascism. Nothing else exists.
That's true.
That is our little political moment to highlight these things for you, because and people always say, like, why make yoga studio political? And it's like, that's so silly, is because your gender, your skin, your sexuality, it's all political. You cannot get away from it. We're just not on our mats moving and breathing. Everything is political as you look at our laws.
This is our world.
It is our world. So that's why we take time out to do these videos, because it is yoga. It is who we are. And it is for us to see other people that aren't in the same categories as us, to move in a different way, to not go along with the norm, and to see things differently. So we'll stop there. So thank you all for joining us. And we hope to see you in the studio or on your mat.